Does it ever get any easier?
Medicine Ball begins tonight at 8:30 on ATV.
Tow line hooked up, temporary guardrail down, ready to launch Pisces.
Meet the people who make some fantastic voyages beneath the Maritimes. Tonight, live at 5.
Now, from the ATV News Center at every city and town in the Maritimes, this is the ATV Evening News, live at 5.
Good evening and welcome to Live at 5 for Monday, March 13th. I'm Nancy Regan.
And I'm Paul Meunier. Here's a look at some of the stories ATV reporters are working on for tonight's show.
I'm Heather Proudfoot in Halifax. Many Canadians seem to think Brian Tobin's hard line with foreign overfishing is the right tack to take. But does being right politically mean you're right legally too? Some observations on the law of the sea later in the show.
I'm Peter Ryan in North Sydney. Do people really understand what's at stake when we talk about our fishery? I'll have more coming up on Live at 5.
For many Atlantic Canadians, the issue is clear-cut. They're proud of the tough stand the federal government is taking on foreign overfishing. But they do have one question. What took them so long?
But most people, well, they think it may not, hope it won't happen again anyway. Nobody.
All this and much more ahead on the Monday edition of Live at 5. Right now, we're going to check in with Steve Murphy, working on the ATV Evening News at 6. Steve.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Good afternoon, everyone. Tonight on the ATV Evening News at 6 o'clock, why your next doctor's appointment could be very, very different than any you've ever had before. Brand new agreement between the province of Nova Scotia and the Medical Society means changes in the way doctors conduct their business from here on in. You'll find out how you could be affected tonight at 6 o'clock. Also on the evening news, now that Danny Cameron has quit as leader of the Corps, New Brunswick has two political parties without a leader. How will this affect the upcoming provincial election? Does no one want to run against Frank McKenna for premier? More on that tonight at 6 o'clock. And also exclusively in the evening news tonight, just imagine answering the door to your own home and being hit in the face with acid. This actually happened to Joanne O'Brien a while ago. Residents in Truro are still talking about it. And tonight, exclusively on your ATV Evening News at 6, Joanne's mom is also talking. She is not happy about the police investigation. You'll find out why at 6 o'clock. Right now, meteorologist Steve Weigel working on our maritime weather forecast. Steve?
Thanks very much, Steve. No big surprises in the forecast. Skies should clear overnight, and we should see some sunshine for tomorrow. All the details are coming up later in the show. Steve?
Okay, the Weigel weather for you here at 5:30 or so, and then at 6 o'clock, all the day's top stories, including the festering fish feud. The seizure of that Spanish fishing trawler has put Canada on a collision course with the Europeans. Today, more defiance from the federal government, which says charges will not be dropped against the captain of the Spanish trawler Este. That story coming up tonight in the ATV Evening News at 6 o'clock, and more on it right now with Paul and Nancy, live at 5, first at 5 tonight.
Thank you, Steve.
And the diplomatic war continues to boil over Canada's seizure of the Spanish trawler Este.
The arrest made last Thursday stepped up Canada's efforts to protect stocks of turbot that government claims are being overfished just outside the 200-mile limit. However, some say the move represents a major departure from what is generally perceived to be the traditional laws of the high seas.
In just a few minutes, we'll ask you what you think in a Live at 5 telephone poll. But first, ATV's Heather Proudfoot joins us with an overview. Heather?
Well, you know, Paul, many are interpreting Brian Tobin's latest moves as an attempt on the part of the Canadians to change what's generally perceived as existing international law by pushing the limits. Clamping down on overfishing on the high seas. In Canada, many say it's the right thing to do. The international community, though, may see it differently. Ken McGuinness, a lawyer who specializes in marine law, sees it as a classic battle between two perceptions of the ever-changing law of the sea.
It really is a conflict between the idea that the high seas are high seas and that there's a right of freedom of fishing out there. And that is conflicting with the right of a coastal state like Canada to conserve its stocks or stocks that are straddling the domestic and international boundary.
At issue right now, areas off the nose and tail of the Grand Banks, outside the 200-mile limit. Deeply concerned about overfishing in those areas, Canada recently passed a law giving itself custodial rights in those areas.
It gives us the power to basically enforce against Spain and Portugal our regulations, which basically require that they live up to the international law obligations.
However, some foreign fishing interests aren't accepting that, saying it violates the tradition traditional concept of freedom of the high seas.
Spain, Portugal, the European Union, they said, well, traditional law of the sea applies. And Canada says, no, we finally have to take some action. And I think really are a number of bases of action. One is protecting one's own right and interest in that fish stock. There's also the larger community interest to protect the high seas fisheries, the ecosystem out there. And so there's a kind of a guardianship argument also that I think that Canada can raise.
Indeed, some say Canada is, in this case, intentionally pushing the boundaries of international law in efforts to establish new international law, and that whatever happens here will have a profound effect on international law of the sea negotiations.
The international law is really a bit different, quite a bit different from domestic law, in that it is an evolving process, and that it's made up not only of conventions, but it's also made up of actions of states.
Clearly, I think what Canada is doing is pushing the development of international law of the sea. Canada's had a long tradition of that.
In fact, that's exactly what happened back in 1970 when Canada declared a 100 nautical mile pollution prevention zone around the Arctic. At that time, there was a lot of international opposition to that, but since then it's become accepted as international convention, international law, and some suggest that's exactly what they're trying to do in terms of this fisheries custodial issue.
Interesting point, Heather. I'm curious, where might all these legal arguments be played out?
Well, a couple of schools of thought on that, perhaps the International Court at The Hague, possibly even a courtroom in St. John's if any of the matters emanating out of this incident go to trial. But there's also lots of negotiations going on behind the scenes. Nancy.
All right, terrific. Thanks very much, Heather.
Thank you.
And the turbot crisis again brings home the question, what's at stake for communities who rely on the fishery? ATV's Peter Ryan joins us live from Sydney tonight with more on that. Peter.
Well, Nancy, if nothing else, this turbot crisis has driven home the fact that the entire fishery is in jeopardy if it isn't managed properly, and there are plenty of signs out there to show that the fishery gets in trouble.
Last year I lent a hand to haul the boats onto the land. They've been lying there for 19 months or more, and I wonder, will they lie there evermore?
And plant closures are just one reminder of what happens when the fishery goes bad. National Sea Products here in North Sydney processed groundfish, but it locked its gates once and for all back in 1993. 400 people were put out of work, people who had to find another living.
It was a big shock, Peter. I was disappointed, of course, but this had been coming for a long time.
It was devastating, really. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was really upset. So I figured, well, if I get retrained, I might be able to find something, you know.
You're in the retraining program now. What does it mean for you?
Well, I really like it, and I find I'm learning things that, you know, I forgot out, you know, and I really like it.
And it's easy to see just what's at stake when you come to communities like Glace Bay. Behind me, the Highland plant. They're processing redfish at the moment, and they're employing a lot of people. But there's more than just processing plants. Bradley, as a fisherman, what's at stake when we talk about the fishery?
Well, pretty well the whole town here is at stake. All the people who work in the grocery stores, and the fish, and the people who work on the draggers, and the fish plants, and the people that build the boats, people that make all the gear. There's all kinds of factories that make fishing gear. All that's at stake too.
What should we have learned from past experiences, especially with the northern cod, and now we're looking at turbot?
Well, if you don't cut back on it, it don't stay there. You just catch it and it's gone forever.
Do people realize just what's at stake when we talk about the economy?
I'd say like a lot of people around the coastline, a lot of small ports and that, but a lot of people away don't. Mm-hmm. They don't know what's going on.
Now, there are plenty of factors out here. For one, the fishermen have really rallied behind this cause. They've all gone through the demise of the cod fishery. Now, many of the inshore fishermen are worried about government privatization of the inshore, for example, the lobster fishery. The bottom line, fishermen are trying to hold on to what little is left out there. Nancy?
But Peter, fishermen aren't the only ones supporting Brian Tobin right now, are they?
No, that's right, Nancy. In fact, it seems all the Maritimes have rallied around the fishermen and Brian Tobin. A rally here yesterday in North Sydney. There were an awful lot of people at that rally who have nothing to do with the fishery. This is a very important issue, and maybe people are now starting to realize that everybody has to look out for the fishery.
All right, thanks very much, Peter.
Okay, Nancy.
And with more on reaction to Canada's position on this issue, here's Paul.
Well, Nancy, interestingly enough, this issue is also being discussed in maritime cities. Was Canada right or wrong to arrest that Spanish trawler? ATV's Janet Stewart's live tonight in Halifax. And Janet, what are people saying on the street about the arrest?
Well, Paul, of course, opinions vary as to whether or not people agree with the arrest of the trawler or not. But the interesting thing here is the strength with which people are holding those opinions. There's nothing wishy-washy here. Maritimers of all walks of life are coming down hard today on one side of this issue or the other.
We have to get tough. We have to say it's not just our lives and livelihoods that are affected, it is the world. We're looking at the world here, and people like Spain and Portugal and whatnot that are raping the seas have got to be brought to task on it.
And I think they should go a little bit farther, too.
How far?
To confiscate everything they own.
But opinions on this issue are not unanimous. This small group was setting up a display at Dalhousie. We found dissension in their ranks.
Even though if they're fishing off the Grand Banks, it's not really in our jurisdiction, and they'd have to go to the World Court, really, to get jurisdiction over those waters. It's a fine line. It can't be really defined geographically because the fish are swimming back and forth. So if it's just outside, it makes no difference. As far as I'm concerned, they should have still arrested it.
For many Maritimers, the issue is clear-cut. They're proud of the tough stand the federal government is taking on foreign overfishing. But they do have one question. What took them so long?
Disturbance, eh?
Attic, sir, attic. They should have done this a long time ago. That's what they should have done.
Well, I think it's about time. I think they should have done it 20, 30 years ago. Back when I was growing, I grew up in northern Newfoundland. When I grew up, it was the seal hunt was on up there, right? And we had to put up with all these guys coming in and tagging our seals, and they killed that. But if they had brought the force in at that time, maybe they could have monitored it out to some equal level, other than just saying, that's it.
I think they should have talked to Spain and get together with their government and work it out.
I think if they would have been negotiating for a long time, nothing would have gotten done. I think the environment's a lot more important than that. I'm glad they went in.
Of course, this issue is very serious for a lot of people, but on the lighter side, I did run into Dartmouth's mayor today, Gloria McCluskey, and she had a very interesting suggestion. She suggested that perhaps what they should have done was brought that Spanish trawler into Halifax Harbor, let it troll the harbor, and make it harbor cleanup made easy.
All right, thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
We want to know what you think now in our Live at 5 telephone poll tonight. Our question is, do you agree with Canada's use of force outside the 200-mile limit? The number to call to register a yes vote is 1-900-273-0030. That's 1-900-273-0030 if you think if Canada is justified in the use of force outside that 200-mile limit. Now, if you don't agree, the number to register a no vote, 1-900-273-0031. That's 1-900-273-0031 if you disagree with Canada's use of force outside the 200-mile limit. Please keep in mind, calls cost 50 cents each. We'll keep the lines open until 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have the results on the Tuesday edition of Live at 5.
And we'll repeat those numbers in just a few minutes in case you missed them this time.
Very interesting debate.
And more on it tonight on the ATV Evening News at 6. And there's lots more to come on the Monday edition of Live at 5, including Steve Weagle's flip-flop forecast and ATV on your side with Yvonne Colbert.
But up next, we're going down underwater, that is.
SDL, service control. This is SDL-1. Calls have been made. Hatch is shut. 1041.
It's another fascinating trip beneath the Maritimes when Live at 5 surfaces.
Fox Ford has done it again with the arrival of 75 specially equipped, specially priced 4x4s, 4x2s, super cabs, and diesel trucks. But we've made a terrific deal even better. Buy right now and receive free Ford box liner, box rails, and Ford jacket. March is Truck Month at Fox Ford. We're going to do whatever it takes to sell you a truck, plus give you all the extras. Only at Fox Ford Lincoln Mercury, Connell Road in Woodstock.
Welcome back to Live at 5. There's a live shot of Halifax Harbor at this hour. Boy, it's light out this time these days, isn't it? Speaking of Halifax Harbor and water, it's time now for another fascinating trip beneath the Maritimes.
Beneath the Maritimes. You know, Nancy, many of us find the topography of our communities complicated enough, but beneath the ground and water, there are many, many things of interest. Now, last week, we took you into a potash and salt mine near Sussex. 6 football field lengths below the surface, there exists a huge, busy, and productive operation. Well, tonight, as we go beneath the Maritimes, we focus on something that defines us as a people, the ocean. Two of Canada's best tools for exploring.
3-60-34. Fox Ford in Woodstock is once again making automotive news.
We're here with Dale Fox. Dale, you've just received a special shipment of Mercury Grand Marquis. This has to be the largest selection in Eastern Canada.
That's right, and we have to move them now.
But does that mean you need a factory connection?
I can't comment on that, but I can tell you that no dealer in Canada can buy from the factory for less. We're selling these loaded Grand Marquis for less than any dealer in Atlantic Canada.
If you're looking for a good buy on Grand Marquis, it looks like Fox Ford is the place to visit.
Welcome back to Live at 5. Demolition work began today at the site of the Centennial Olympic Park in Atlanta, Georgia. Workers tore down buildings to make room for new ones, which will serve as locales for many sporting events. It'll be a central part of the Olympic Games, which are scheduled to be held in Atlanta next summer, and it'll look very different.
Hard to believe it's only a summer away, 1996. Right. It's going to be something else in Atlanta, Georgia, and if we can have some of that Atlanta weather in the next little while, we'll be all very happy here in the Maritimes, won't we, Steve?
That would be very nice indeed, Paul, but it looks like it's going to stay, no big surprises in the next little while. In fact, we shouldn't see temperatures rise too much for the next few days, staying just about seasonable in most areas, but some big changes across the country. With a big ridge just back to our west through Ontario, they're seeing temperatures up in the high teens. Right now, Toronto is at plus 19. Tomorrow, they should hit 15 or 16 degrees. Here are the temperatures for tomorrow. You can see the Maritimes is generally seasonable. Some of the warmest temperatures through southern Ontario tomorrow, 14 and 15 degrees, and back out west through Alberta and BC, they should get above into the double digits for tomorrow. Here's the latest satellite photo, and you can see a lot of cloud across the Maritimes right now. A big ridge of high pressure back to our west. Not only are there warm temperatures in southern Ontario, there's lots of sunshine, and a severe weather system down through Texas and also into Louisiana right now is pushing severe thunderstorms across the Gulf of Mexico region. And another interesting system back out west through California is dumping heavy rains through the San Francisco area today. The close-up of the Maritimes shows a lot of cloud. You can see clear skies to our west and clear skies to our east and to our west, but the cloud is moving from north to south. And I think what's going to happen is we should start to see the cloud break up overnight, but it will be generally cloudy for the next few hours. You can see in the past 24 hours how this cloud, unusual for this time of year, is pushing from the north to the south and will continue to push across in the next few hours. I think we should see some sunshine for tomorrow. It looks pretty good. We have this low just off the coast, though, and that's going to block any major systems from pushing into the Maritimes. High over us tomorrow will give us clear skies tomorrow night and sunshine for Wednesday. We should at least see partly sunny skies, and I think at least the eastern areas of the Maritimes should see mostly sunny skies and seasonable temperatures. And the mild air through southern Ontario I don't think will ever reach us. We should just stay seasonable, and the warm air will stay to our south through the Boston area and back through farther points south in New England. Here's the forecast overnight then. We have the cloud, it'll push out before dawn, and we should see temperatures fall overnight, -5 to -10 for overnight lows. Light winds are expected, so not a bad night out there, although there is a little bit of drizzle right now, some foggy areas, so take care if you're out driving. Tomorrow, seasonable temperatures are slightly above. We have partly cloudy skies in New Brunswick. We should see a little bit more sunshine through Nova Scotia and through Prince Edward Island during the day, and temperatures right well into the plus values in most areas, and we should see western areas of New Brunswick quite nice, +2 and +3, and we should see 1 to 3 degrees across mainland Nova Scotia during the day. So it looks pretty good. Not much of a change, as I mentioned. No big weather systems right into the weekend. We'll see a mix of sun and cloud on Wednesday, +2, much the same on Thursday, maybe a few more clouds in the forecast. And then for Friday, a few more flurries are expected. We'll have a low just pushing off the coast, should give us a little bit of flurry activity, cooling down just a touch. But really, Paul, nothing in the way of a big weather system headed our way for the next few days. And spring officially starts on the 20th.
I know, I've got that one marked down. Thanks, Steve. Well, as the winter thaw begins, people who live along the river systems begin to watch for any sign of flooding. ATV's Laverne Stewart's in Fredericton. Laverne, how long will it be before flooding problems begin along the St. John River?
Well, Paul, according to the Emergency Measures Organization, it will begin in 2 weeks, but with warm weather or heavy rains, that could come sooner. And people who've experienced flooding are watching and hoping they'll escape the floodwaters this year.
Think it's going to be as bad as last year?
Well, it's one of them things that's hard to tell, really, because Can't tell what the ice is going to do. Last year it didn't look like it was going to be that way. And then
Hardy McKay is talking about the ice jam and flooding that destroyed many homes in this little community last spring.
People got wiped out. You got wiped out.
Yeah, a lot of us did, and a lot moved and built someplace else. Not going to get me this time.
What'd you do?
Moved up the road about half a mile up top the big hill there.
Others who escaped the flooding last year aren't so worried about what could happen this spring. Are you concerned about the possibility of flooding again this year in this area?
No, not really. It's been a long time since anything like that happened here, other than water, a little bit of water come through.
Do you think last year's flooding was just a fluke?
Yeah, pretty much. Just the ice jammed up and there's no water to take it out.
Flood season begins 2 weeks to a month from now, but officials here at EMO aren't taking any chances. They're doing all of the preparation work now.
Well, right now we spend our time, going over plans, making sure telephone numbers are up to date, making sure all the observers are out there, everyone has the equipment that they need.
It's too soon to tell where flooding will be the most serious this year. Steady rains and warm weather will play a big factor.
Areas of greatest concern to us right now are areas where ice jams are in place at present that have formed since January and have gotten stronger over the winter. They're primarily in the upper basin, in the above Edmundston in the St. John River.
Now, Paul, the Emergency Measures Organization says it usually has 2 to 3 days to determine where floodwaters will inundate river valley areas.
Is there anything people who live along floodplains can do during flood season?
Well, Paul, not really, because Mother Nature, being what it is unpredictable, and the best thing you can do is keep watching the river system, and if you think it's getting a little high, keep a bag packed and get out, because once water starts to move, there's nothing that'll hold it back.
All right, thank you, Laverne.
Okay.
And hopefully, like the rest of this winter in the Maritimes, flood season won't be severe as it has been in some past years. Nancy?
Thanks, Paul. And here once again are the numbers you need to take part in tonight's Live at 5 telephone poll. The subject, Canada's recent seizure of the Spanish trawler Esti. Our question is, do you agree with Canada's use of force outside the 200-mile limit? The number to call to register a yes vote is 1-900-273-0030. It's 1-900-273-0030 if you think Canada is justified in the use of force outside the 200-mile limit. If you don't agree, the number you need to register a no vote is 1-900-273-0031. That's 1-900-273-0031 to vote no. Just a reminder that calls cost 50 cents each. Lines will remain open until 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have the results tomorrow night on Live at 5.
And still ahead on our program this evening, maritime sports fans have lots to be
like a graveyard.